Good morning, and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and to serve the community. Whoever you are welcome here. Wherever you come from, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, you are welcome here. And if you come here seeking connections anew, or even if you're making space for old connections, you are welcome here. All of you is welcome here. It is good to be together this morning. We acknowledge with respect at the beginning of our worship service and every Sunday when we gather the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door and part of the Haudenosaunee people on whose ancestral lands First Universalist now stands. So welcome to First Universalist Church, where we are worshiping in a new way. We are a community of seekers, both online and in person, and we are choosing to worship in person, vaccinated, masked, and with social distance. This might be a good time to check on whether or not you have your mask on correctly and whether or not you're maintaining good distance from others. If you are here for the first time this morning, or if you are back, we especially welcome you. Thank you for making it to this worshiping community. We have a visitors form that can be found in the chat for our folks online, and that can be found in your order of service for folks in person. Please fill out the form so we can offer you a deeper welcome beyond what we can just offer you here on Sunday morning. Before we take a moment to turn to our neighbor, we are actually going to try a new practice this morning. I want to invite those of us here in the sanctuary to turn to our camera just past the piano over here and to greet our folks online worshiping with us. Please offer a wave, a big hello. Good morning. We are so glad you all are here with us. If you are online, please pop into the chat to offer a greeting and to share your joys and sorrows. If you're here at First Universalist, let's take a moment to turn to our neighbors this morning and to offer a greeting. Let us greet one another. Please join us in singing hymn number 95, There is More Love Somewhere. If you'd like to, you can rise in body or in spirit. There is more love
could that somewhere be right here? Could love be found here? Could hope be found here? Could peace be found here? Could joy be found here? Here, in this blessed community, where relationships are a source and expression of the sacred, where we come week after week to seek connection with the divine and with one another, where we often do not agree and must figure out ways to get together, to be together anyway. On this forming edge of the morning, on this day, when we are coming together, seeking some kind of connection, let us find community and relationship and the sacred right here. Come, let us worship together. Would Richard Reed come forth to light the chalice, please? As Richard Reed lights our chalice at First Universalist Church, and you light your chalices in your own homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Please join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Our offering this morning goes to support the good work of our partner organization, Person-Centered Housing Options. PCHO uses a housing first model, recognizing that access to housing should have no qualifications and helps provide the stability from which people can then recover from the trauma of living on the streets. First Universalist has had a long-standing partnership with this organization through our Homeless Heartbeats Justice Circle. You are invited to bring your offering to the offering boxes in the front and the back of the sanctuary before or after service and during our offering. If you would like to give online, please scan the QR code if you are here in the sanctuary and click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. You can also feel free to send a check to the church. The offering will now be given and received.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining.
sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent.
Well, welcome back, First Universalist Choir. It is so good to hear from you all this morning, huh? Right? And welcome back to our fabulous music director, Brock Chesvold, who we have missed these last 2 weeks. And thankfully, he is back. Thank you. I'm so glad you're back. Our story this morning actually comes from a ministry mentor of mine. Her name is Molly Hausch-Gordon, and I heard her tell this story at a service that she led when she was actually secretly pre-candidating for another congregation and coming to the church where I was the intern to preach her neutral pulpit sermon. And she shared this story. It's called The People of the Bubble, and she wrote it in 2011. Once upon a time, in a land that was neither here nor there, there lived a people who were neither like us nor unlike. These people did all the things that we do. They were born and they died. And in between, they lived lives of differing lengths. They learned things, they played, they danced and sang. They had ideas. They yelled and picked fights. They meditated and prayed. They ate and drank. But these people were different in one big way. They each had a stretchy, shiny bubble around them. Living in bubbles meant that they bounced and that they were always safe. And so it was that these people in this land were happy and bouncy and safe. Then one day, among these people, a little girl named Ava was born, and she had no bubble. The people felt sorry for Ava and watched her with great fear. What would happen to her without her bubble to protect her, they whispered to one another. There was no way to know but to wait and see. So they looked on as a poor, bubbleless Ava grew up. They watched as Ava learned to walk, flinching each time she teetered and tottered. They watched as Ava picked dandelions and blew on their fluffy heads, sending them blowing out across the wind. They sighed as they watched her stroke a fluffy cat. Maybe their safe and bouncy bubbles also meant they couldn't do a few things that looked rather nice, they realized. Then one day when little Ava was learning to roller skate, she fell down. And since she had no bubble, she didn't bounce. She hit the ground hard. The people gasped. Ava cried, but she wasn't too badly hurt. So she stood back up again, and it was then that the people of the bubble saw blood for the first time, for little Ava had scraped her knee. Some of the people looked on in fascination. Others fainted in horror. Ava just wiped her knee on her sleeve and went inside to get some ice cream. Typical kid, right? The next day, she roller skated down a big hill, laughing as the wind tickled her face and blew her hair into streamer flying out behind her. It was then that the people realized inside their bubbles that they had never felt the wind tickle their faces or blow their hair. That night, the first bubble breaker climbed out of her bubble and left it behind in the garage. It was a girl named Penny, just about Ava's age, and that night she felt for the first time how soft her favorite blanket was as she fell asleep. The next morning, Penny grabbed her roller skates and raced to the top of the big hill. She raced down it with the wind in her hair. She laughed, and the wind blew tears off her face. "Yay," said Ava, waiting at the bottom of the hill, and she threw her arms out wide. Penny skated right into her arms, and that was when everything changed. That was when the people of the bubble first saw a hug. And it looked so cozy, and it looked so happy and comfy, and the people of the bubbles realized that they had never touched one another and never felt that connection. That night, there were a dozen more bubble breakers who climbed out of their bubbles and left them behind in the garage. And then the next night, a dozen more, and on and on. Because of Ava, the people realized that they needed to feel fluffy cat fur in the wind in their faces and the embrace of loved ones. Of course, many of them scraped their knees and pricked their fingers, and sometimes worse, for they were no longer very bouncy or completely safe. But when they hurt, they held each other, and no one dreamed of going back to their bubble. The end. Dear ones, we come here out of many different experiences, and we set aside time always in our service to honor the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a heart-centered place as I read our joys and our sorrows this morning. As Dolores places stones into a bowl, we will read our joys and sorrows. All are also invited to just share their joys and sorrows in the chat or in this book before and after the service. This morning we have a joy from Mick Toker, whose oldest grandchild, Amelia Bell, age 13, has been accepted into an early college high school program, starting her freshman year in August 2022 near her home in Argyle, Texas. Sending so much love to Amelia and to Mick and to the family. We also have joy this morning from Elizabeth Osta that Dave and I will be celebrating Thanksgiving with our two grandsons, Bobby and Henry, and their parents. I know so many of us are looking forward to family celebrations. A joy this morning from Jean Ott. The twins will be born in 2-ish months. Just twin grandchildren on the way. Their names are Conrad and Jonas. A joy from Johanna Connolly. She has welcomed a new 4-legged friend into her home and her heart. Duke is here. Yay! A joy from Carol Zimberlin, who's looking forward to a 4-day holiday weekend this week. A joy from Emma to have Brock back this week. All of our joy, really. A joy from Eileen Musson. After months of hard work, much worry, and the loving support of my wonderful sisters, I'm finally moved and my house is listed for sale. Yay! Joining in your celebration, Eileen. And Lois Baum is excited to have found the quickly sold out Gardein roast and tofurkey at Wegmans. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. For those of you who know Lois, she's a vegan. We also hold sorrows this morning. We hold a sorrow from Parla Marchese at the death of a longtime neighbor and friend, Judy Gagnon, I'm sorry, she is missed. We have a sorrow this morning from Richard Reed. John Werner, son of longtime church members Jesse and Alan Werner, died this past week of a massive heart attack. We are holding all who knew and loved John and the Werner family in our hearts this morning. We also have this morning an angry sorrow from Connie Volk. Rittenhouse had all charges dropped. What an injustice. Sharing with all who are feeling the weight of that decision this week. And we will drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all the joys and the sorrows left unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love. Today, we light a white candle to acknowledge that we are a community affected by the grief, the loss, the fear, the hope of living through a pandemic. May this candle's flame hold our experiences around this horrific disease, and may its light be a beacon of hope and a reminder that we are not alone. For our meditation this morning, I want to just invite us to get comfortable in our bodies. Lean back in your chair or your pew, wherever you find yourself. Get into a comfortable position. If you can plant your feet firmly on the ground, plant your feet firmly on the ground. And let us just take a deep breath together. For our meditation this morning, we turn to the words from the metta meditation, the loving kindness meditation in the Buddhist tradition. We will be singing throughout this meditation, shifting the focus from ourselves to those around us and expanding our loving kindness to cover the whole world. We'll begin first with focusing inward, with holding ourselves in our mind's and heart's eye. Let's take a moment to just sit and check in with ourselves. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. How are you feeling? Is there any tension you're holding on to in your body? Are there worries or concerns weighing heavily on your heart? Now take a deep breath and imagine you are breathing in a loving and kind force for good in your body. In the in-breath. And in the exhale, let us just clear out all that we have considered and checked in with and get present here. And let us get present here by singing to ourselves, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. Now let your mind wander to someone that you care about. It could be a spouse, a partner, a child, a loved one, a friend, someone who is easy for you to love, someone whose well-being you desire. Hold their face and their name in your mind's eye as we sing to them, may you be filled with love and kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. Let's bring our mind and heart's attention to someone we are holding in love and concern this morning. Could be someone we know who's having a hard time, someone you know who is grieving or just going through it, someone living with mental illness, addiction. Bring their face and their name into your heart and mind's eye. Let yourself rest in that image and hold the deep care and concern you have for them in your heart. As we sing, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. We then turn our hearts to someone with whom we are in conflict, someone we are experiencing tension with, someone who we might have argued with this past week, someone where the wounds are perhaps longer standing. I invite you to bring their face and their name into your mind and heart's eye, and just to hold them there, recognizing that this is uncomfortable for most of us. But hold them there as we sing to them, may you be filled with love and kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. We shift our attention now to those here in this room, in our virtual sacred worshiping space. We allow our hearts to expand from our homes all the way to First Universalist Church, and from this church all the way to the sacred space of people's homes who are joining us online. Let us sing together for our community. May we be filled with love and kindness. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be And then we expand from here, from our homes and our church building out to our neighbors, to our greater Rochester community beyond the whole state of New York, expanding our loving kindness further to our whole country, to our world, holding all of the creatures and beings on this planet in tender care. Out of this expansive loving kindness we are now holding in our awareness, let us sing for the final time, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be Let us join in silence together. Amen.
This morning's reading is by Mark Nepo from the Book of Awakening, To Know Someone Deeply. To know someone deeply is like hearing the moon through the ocean, or having a hawk lay bright leaves at your feet. It seems impossible, even while it happens. Discovering who we are is like breaking a trail up the side of a mountain. Yet the deepest friendships begin when we look into the eye of another and discover that they have been here too. It is always astonishing to me to find out that someone else sees what I have seen, and always humbling to learn that what I thought was my path and my mountain is everyone's. We carry whole worlds within us as we brush by each other in the supermarket to read mayonnaise jars. The entire drama of life churning in our blood as we rush underground to catch a train. We are always both so known and unknown. This is why knowing someone deeply is such a treasure. It opens the sky of all time. It lets a song come out of the sea. It lets the heart, like a photograph, be developed for being touched by another. And though we may find someone along the way who's been where we are going, or going where we have been, we must never stop breaking our own trail up the mountain. For only by daring to be ourselves can we deeply know others.
Thank you, Dolores. I want to say from the outset of today that I seem to be in quite a mood when developing sermon topics this past September. After hearing from so many of you about feelings of disconnection and isolation this late summer, early fall, I thought it would be good for us to talk about disconnection and connection. However, it feels like exploring the chasms between us feels a bit dramatic in retrospect. And this morning, I would much rather be with you all to celebrate the moments of finding connection, the moments of reaching beyond the safety of our bubbles to be known and understood. I'd like to celebrate with you all moments of feeling connected to one another, as I feel that is one of the deepest expressions of the divine. And in moments when we are seen and understood, love can be found, both the love of self and others, an expression of the love we are called to for our community and for ourselves. Dear ones, I'm actually going to ask you all to hold me in tender love this morning, as I realized I forgot to include two joys in our service today. A joy from Nuke and Ed, who are thrilled to celebrate their 39th wedding anniversary. What? Where are you, Ed Deller? That's amazing! And also a joy from Patty Goodwin, whose great niece gave birth to a beautiful baby boy on the 11th. He's my great grandnephew. Congratulations, Patty. Oh, friends, you know, we're just juggling a bunch up here, but here we are. Many of us have been experiencing, I imagine, bouts of feeling disconnected throughout our lives. For some, the isolation of the past 20 months has been a welcome way of moving through the world. There are those amongst us who find deep peace in moments of quiet stillness and in times when you are alone. And that time certainly has increased during the unfolding of this pandemic, but for many of us, I have heard you talking about desiring connection again, with your families, with your church community, with friends, and with loved ones. And even for those amongst us who prefer to be alone, there are still times when we desire connection with others. Human beings are hardwired for connection. Brené Brown, shame researcher and author, reminds us we are hardwired for connection. As we readjust in these days, as more folks are vaccinated, as our kids and grandkids ages 5 to 12 are able to be vaccinated, and more of us are coming back to in-person connection with each other, have you had the experience of that being just a little awkward? Anyone? No? No? I heard no from Becca. No, it's absolutely smooth. Good for you. Anyone had the experience of it being a little awkward? Show of hands. Anybody? Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking the risk of bursting out of your bubbles this morning to help us feel less alone. It can be a little bit awkward. And one of you sent me an article as church was beginning to shift into our multi-platform ways of worshiping about this awkwardness in the reconnection, and especially the exhaustion. It's almost as if we've forgotten how to socialize with one another. And it's almost as if getting back into that is just going to take a little. Have you had that feeling yet of being exhausted after hanging out with folks? Yes, I'm seeing some nods. Yes, I'm seeing some hands. Whew. According to this article that this church member sent me, many of us are experiencing what they call psychological hibernation during this pandemic, where our social stimulation has gone down and our brains have adjusted to the amount of social stimulations, that we've been receiving over these last 20 months. And now with this new heightened social input, it will take a while for our brains to adjust again. It is literally just like we need time and space to recover We can't quite go back to the same social practices right away. We need a period of adjustment where our brains can shift out of psychological hibernation and into being in conversation or even in groups of people. And yet we still seek this connection. We seek connection with others because we know it is one of the deep joys of living. We seek to be known and understood by others, and we seek to know and understand out of the foundational pieces of our shared common human condition. Each one of us needs love and nurturing in life. Each one of us needs friends, and we need community. What is more nourishing than time with people who really get you? I'm concerned with the narrative I hear so often that I don't need anything or anyone to survive. This narrative around self-sufficiency. I saw it in some of the ways that we were with one another at this pandemic's beginning, hoarding away supplies, making sure me and mine were provided for, finding new ways to get toilet paper shipped directly to my door. The memories. Actions like this only serve the narrative that we are here to care for our own, for ourselves, for our families, for those who are closest to us. And yet so much has happened to shift this time period into mutual aid funds, food efforts, ways to share out our resources. To live through a pandemic certainly has meant many of us reflecting on just how precious life is, on the connections with others that matter most to us, and perhaps even a new outlook on what you want to do with your life, where you want to spend your time, what you'd like to be doing. Turns out this pandemic that could have separated us, and did for a while, has also provided new ways for us to connect, reminding us what a lifeline these communities truly are. And this community, our community, must take connecting and relationship building seriously. Because folks don't usually come to church when they want to remain alone. I have heard story after story in this congregation and in others I have served about why people decided to come to church in the first place. Sometimes it is a moment of proactive planning, like you came here originally to provide a religious home for your kids, where they could explore. Or even folks trying to find a UU congregation where they have a family who has mixed religious practices and heritage. But for a majority of us, we come through these doors and we click onto Zoom because we find we are missing something in our lives. Perhaps we experienced a crisis and are looking for ways to make sense of what happened to us. Perhaps we come seeking community, a place to be amongst others. Perhaps we even come seeking a deeper relationship with the divine, with the sacred. For me, I came back to church after college. During my college years, I had maybe unsurprisingly drifted away from church. There was a small fellowship in the town where I went to college, but it didn't quite have the community or the welcome I was looking for. In fact, they were always so pleased to see college students in there that the welcome became just a little too much. I actually remember feeling like swarmed after a service, just, folks like descending on us, But after college, I moved to Chicago, and a month later, my dad died. Seeking space to make sense of his early and sudden death, I went to my local Unitarian Universalist church, Second Unitarian in Boys Town in Chicago. And there I found a robust young adult group, as well as a good number of folks doing intentional anti-racism work together. In these groups and rooms, I found connection. I found folks I cared about and who cared about me. I'm still in touch with a good few of them to this present day. So let us just acknowledge here that in moments of crisis, we have a choice to make. Sometimes moment to moment, sometimes day to day, to stay within the relative safety of our bubbles and hide away, or to reach out and to connect with another person. Both serve a good function, but I imagine many of us here know this choice well and have had to make it at multiple points in our life journey. In fact, I would say each one of you here in this room and online made a choice today to connect rather than to stay, to stay at home or to stay off the Zoom. You made it here this morning. You made it here. It is such a gift that you are here. And when people make the choice to reach out for a community of seekers, for a space to explore what they've just been through, I sure hope we are thought of. I sure hope we are able to meet people where they are in this space. I sure hope we create a good container for connecting with one another, and I think we do. And I want you all to know that our board is thinking about this too. Out of our 3 goals that we discerned this year, 2 of them are about engagement and connection. We are working on this together. So I'm wondering, I want to ask, when have you felt connected here? Take a moment in your mind to think, when have you felt connected here? When have you felt a connection here in this space? Who were you with? Where were you? What was going on? Is anyone willing to share just a few words, call them out into the space? Times when you felt connected here? Choir. The first time you walked in. Wow. Wow. Joys and sorrows. Always. Wow. Coffee hour. Oh. Work parties. Supporting RAIN families, the Rochester Area Interfaith Hospitality Network families. Yes. Sitting together, singing together. Memorial services. Passover seders. Conversations. The church picnic. Weddings. Discussing films, the film discussion. Thanks, Emma. Baby dedications. Discussion group. Our whole children's program. Thanks, Rachel. At the pavilion outdoors, being outside. To hold others and to be held. To know and to be known. To risk and to be met with reassurance. To know ourselves more fully through relationship with others. These are some of our deepest yearnings in life. Some of our heart's longings, what we are created for. We are hardwired to find connection, and so finding community fills this old need in us, a need every human being has and has had for generations and generations, to belong, to connect. We are not made to go through life alone. And so here we are, together in this space, seeking better ways to know ourselves and to know others, taking risks to grow deeper connections and relationships. May you find the connections you seek here and beyond in your days ahead. And may you find friendships and relationships and connections that nourish and sustain your spirit. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. As we ever seek connection and deeper connection with one another, one thing that we know for sure is that love will guide us through it all. So let us join in singing our final hymn together, hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Please rise in body or in spirit and let us join in singing out. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. Let us remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame this morning, reading together the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. As we close the service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart, to be able to look upon the faces of those here with you. If you're joining us via Zoom, turn to gallery view and look upon the faces of those here with you. Let us just sit in appreciation for the many folks here today. Dear ones, this morning, may you be strengthened by the connections you find here. May you be strengthened by this community to know better who you are and to better know others. May you be known and understood in this space. And may we seek ever to know and understand one another. May you know that you are loved. And may you go and be that love to whomever you may meet in the days ahead. Amen. Blessed be. May it be so.